What's cooking, everybody? I'm Dave Altizer here with MkII. Today we're testing the Canon 6D Mark II in Alaska. Through the magic of editing, I am back home in Nashville, Tennessee. My trip to Alaska was phenomenal. We had a ton of fun. There were moments where we were actually only an hour away from Siberia and Russia. We were so far north in Alaska. It was negative 27 degrees when we first got there. I went with my friend Brock Gill, who's a professional magician and illusionist, and he brought a message and a really fun, entertaining show to people who don't get visitors often. I brought the Canon 6D Mark II with me to do tests for this video. So throughout this video, I'm going to be showing pictures and video that I filmed using the 6D Mark II during my 1-week trip to Alaska. I also brought my trusty 1DC and also my 80D as well, so there's going to be some comparisons there. There's been a lot of talk about the 6D Mark II recently. This camera actually came out back in June of last year, but people are starting to take notice of it because people like Casey Neistat, Peter McKinnon, and different vloggers and different people are starting to switch to the Canon 6D Mark II solely for vlogging and video purposes. I'm out here in the middle of Alaska vlogging. I can actually see my shot. I can see that it's tracking my face, and it's working perfectly. I don't have a mic on here because it's just a little too cumbersome to carry around with me as I'm snow speeding around here. But so far so good with the 6D Mark II. There's also a lot of photographers who either owned a 6D version 1 or an 80D or a crop sensor who are really wanting to know if they should upgrade to the 6D Mark II because it's a little bit cheaper than the 5D Mark IV. So in this video, I'm going to answer 3 questions. 1, should you upgrade from a crop sensor? 2, should you use this camera for video purposes? And 3, is it actually worth the price? So let's answer that question. Is the 6D a worthy upgrade for somebody coming from a crop sensor camera like the 80D, the 70D? The 62 has the digital IS, which is cool, but any camera with a Digic 7 inside of it will give you the digital IS. The 6D can only max out to 1/4000th of a second, whereas the 80D can max out at 1/8000th of a second for photos. And the biggest thing for me as a video person that I can't believe they didn't include is a headphone jack. The 80D has a headphone jack. I can't tell you how many times I've shot a video and then I realized that either the microphone's battery was dead or there was some sort of weird rustling sound going on that I didn't know about. Having a headphone jack is essential for any type of video work, and the fact that they didn't include that is like, I don't know why they would do that. I guess they started talking to Apple and Apple convinced them they don't need headphone jacks. So to answer the first question, is the 6D Mark II worth an upgrade from a crop sensor? If full frame is really important to you and having that extra depth of field is just all you care about and you've got a full set of EF lenses, then sure, it's an upgrade. If you're a photographer, it might be more of an upgrade. Which leads me to the second topic, is this camera good for video? As I mentioned before, the stabilization in camera is great. It's really nice. Again, it's not unique to this camera. A lot of the newer cameras have it already, like I said, but literally the only thing this camera has going for it in terms of video is simply the fact that it's a full frame camera. That is literally it. There is nothing at all about this camera that is better in any way than the 2-year-old 80D. Now, yes, it is full frame. Yes, it has a flip out screen. Yes, it has dual pixel autofocus. It has those things, but so does my 80D, and my 80D is still great. In fact, the 80D actually has one thing in particular that I cannot believe the 6D did not include, and that is the all-I codec. The 6D Mark II only shoots an IPB codec. Nobody's talking about this. Why isn't anybody talking about this? This is unacceptable. The 80D costs $1,000 and it has a better codec and a headphone jack built in. What the heck? I don't understand. The IPB codec basically interpolates every other image and kind of like blends the frames together to give you an image. There's a lot, I'm not doing a good job scientifically describing it, but all-I basically compresses each frame individually and compresses that together into one file and every single picture is taken individually. So basically the image looks more sharp, more clean, and higher quality. I tend to shoot in all-I because when it comes to editing IPB versus all-I, it's more taxing on your computer to play footage that's shot in IPB than it is all-I. So I'm willing to take a little bit of the storage hit to have a better looking image and also a faster post-production situation as well. Obviously the camera doesn't include 4K. It's something that Canon tends to do with literally every single camera they've released. And the cameras that do have 4K shoot motion JPEG. Canon, give us 4K in these cameras. It's not going to eat into your cinema line. The cinema cameras have so many other benefits other than just 4K. The cinema cameras have built-in NDs, they have XLR inputs, different codecs that are designed for broadcast, all sorts of things. We don't need that, we just need 4K. That's what every single camera manufacturer is doing right now. I cannot believe that they won't do it. I'm still holding out for a 90D or a 100D that will shoot 4K. When that happens, when a camera shoots 4K with a flip out screen, and I'm not talking about motion JPEG 4K, I'm talking about usable 4K. When that happens, every single vlogger, every single YouTuber is going to switch to that camera. I guarantee you. They will put up with whatever bullcrap Canon's gonna do with that camera because it will shoot very beautiful 4K images. I guarantee you, when it happens, every single person that's on Sony, that's on Panasonic, that's shooting daily YouTube content will switch to whatever that Canon camera is. It will be the best vlogging camera, and I do not understand why Canon doesn't recognize this and do something about it. If you want full frame Canon video, then you really only have two options, the 5D Mark IV or the 1DX Mark II. The 5D Mark IV is a great option. You actually get a clean HDMI out of that camera so you can record ProRes. You can also order that camera with Canon log built in, which is phenomenal. I would love to test that camera actually against my 1DC. It does have a really weird crippled 4K crop. The 1DX2 is kind of the god of cameras. A lot of vloggers use that camera. I just can't come to terms to buy that camera or upgrade my 1DC to that camera for some reason. I think it's more of a mental thing. I just love the 1DC. I love that red C logo on that camera. But so I really do think Peter McKinnon and the Travel Feels guy and Casey Neistat are totally wrong about the 62. It is god awful. Have you looked at some of Casey's new videos? Have you seen how soft the image is? So that leads us to the final question. Is the 6D Mark II worth the price? Hell no. The 6D Mark II is roughly $2,000. It's $2,000 stock, but it is going for about $1,800 on B&H. Let's compare that to some other cameras, shall we? The GH5, which is the greatest camera in the world for video right now at the price point and at the size of this camera. The GH5 is $1997. It's $3 cheaper than the 62. It has 10-bit. It can do 4K at 60 frames per second. It can go up to like 240 frames per second. The GH5 is cheaper than a 62. Unbelievable. Canon's own 80D is $1,000 cheaper, and it has better video and a headphone jack. The Fuji X-T2, which is a phenomenal stills camera that produces unbelievable skin tones, has 4K, is $15.99. You can buy a used 1DC for $3,000. For $1,000 more, you get 4K, Canon log, and a Super 35 mode with no record limit for video. And because it's a 1D, it can do this. As you can probably tell, I am very passionate about my experience using the 62 in Alaska because I was very excited about using it. The reason I brought this camera to Alaska in the first place was to do this review and to tell you guys how awesome this camera is. I saw online that everybody was talking about this camera again and actually started using it, and I heard some negative things about it when it first came out from the initial reviews, but I wanted to give this thing a shot because of some of the big YouTubers that I saw using this camera specifically for video, and I was so disappointed. I couldn't believe how bad bad the camera was. Especially when I was taking pictures, I couldn't believe the lack of dynamic range, the lack of sharpness from this camera. My 1DC was getting better images, and it's literally a 5-year-old camera at this point. I'm so glad I brought my 1DC. I'm so glad I brought my 80D. At the end of the trip, I literally kept the 60 in the bag. I didn't even take it out. I used the 80D on the Movi because it had all-eye codec. When it came to the more professional, big, wide, beautiful landscape shots, I went to the 1DC for the 4K and for the sharp 1080p in Super 35 mode. Everybody's talking about how great this camera is. A piece of crap. This camera sucks. I'm angry. I'm angry at Canon. This camera sucks so much. I'm also angry at all these YouTubers that are praising this camera because it's not helping. It's making Canon think that they're doing something right. The 60 Mark II sucks. Plain and simple. Don't buy it, and if you did buy it, sell it immediately and buy a GH5. And Canon, if you are listening, please know that we love your cameras. We love your color science. We love the technology that you've done with the dual pixel autofocus. We love the flip out screen. It's amazing. You have to compete here. You guys are just dragging your feet. The image is worse on this camera than older cameras. I do not understand how a new camera that is in such a high pro market is worse than older cameras. I just don't understand. And I hope that they change their game moving forward. Do you guys agree with me? Do you think I'm nuts? Am I crazy? Is the 62 something that you want? Is it something that you own and you like it? Do you like using it? Let me know in the comments below. This is just my opinion. I'm wrong all the time. So let me know what you guys think. Was I too harsh on the camera, or am I right that Canon needs to step up their game and actually innovate a little bit more in 2018? Make sure to subscribe to this channel. We got more videos coming this week. I got the Panasonic G9 that I'm actually filming this video on. We're gonna be doing a review on that next, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Once again, I'm Dave Altizer, this is Kinotika, and we'll see you guys next time.